Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be walking you through how I farm the most important boss inside the entirety of this Doom Tower rotation, which is going to be the Dark Fae, of course. I'm going to be showing you my team composition, the AI presets, all that good stuff, as well as giving you at least 2 to 3 substitutions for every single champion inside this comp. So if you don't have some of these champions, I'm going to give you options that might be a little bit more accessible, and preferably options that I have used in the past. So let's go ahead and let's hop straight into it. Why do you want to farm the Dark Fae? Well, it is quite simple because you're going to be able to get yourself some of this gear set here, which is hands down one of the best damage dealing gear sets in the entire game. It's going to be lethal, which gives you 10% crit rate, as well as ignoring 25% of enemy defense. And then, as you can see, of course, these are the Fae spheres that you're going to get from farming her inside the hard Doom Tower. So the team that I'm going to be showing you here today is 100% auto-friendly, and it is also 100% compatible with every single stage of the Dark Fae. So what do you need to know about her real quick? Well, first of all, what she does is as soon as you go against her, she's going to spawn mirrored copies of your champion. So you need to make sure that you have some sort of control, turn meter reduction, turn meter steal, freeze, provokes, you know, those sorts of things to allow you to actually get through this consistently. And she can actually also go ahead and steal one of your champions kind of at random as well to have on her side, even after you've killed them all already. So if you only bring one DPS unit, that can be kind of problematic. And we're going to go ahead, just run this on auto, kind of show you how it works, and then after that we'll go ahead and take a look at the AI setups as well as the champion builds, essentially, right? So you can see the stats that they're in, and then I'll go ahead and talk about the substitutions. Now, all things considered, even at a base level, I would say this is a pretty low spend or free-to-play player friendly team composition. The reason being, of course, we have Newt in here, who is a previous fusion. We have Eostrid in here, who is a previous fusion. We have 2 epic champions, granted, one is a void epic. And then we have Yakarl, who everybody is guaranteed to get at some point through the clan shop, right? So, obviously, I understand, though, that you may not have Newt. You may not have Eostrid because, you know, if you weren't playing at the time that they're a fusion, it doesn't help you a whole lot that they were a fusion, right? So that would be like, you know, me, for example, if I'm watching a video on how to beat a piece of content, and that person is telling me how to beat it with Rhodos or Tormund, that's great, but that's not going to work for me because I didn't play at that time and I don't have those champions, right? So I like to give some substitution options as well, just in case you guys don't have. So let's go ahead and take a look at how it runs on this wave as well against the Dark Fae herself. So, you know, you can see that we're getting through them pretty easily. Now, it is important to mention that the Dark Fae is not immune to turn meter control effects. So any sort of turn meter control that you can throw her way, she is not going to be able to ignore it like some of the bosses that we have. So you can see how Newt's A1 is very effective. Obviously, you'll have a ton of turn meter drop coming in from Allure. You'll have a lot of turn meter drop coming in from Skimfos. We also have decreased speeds going out and all those sorts of good things. So she is going to be turn meter controlled into the ground, and essentially she just does not get a turn. And like I mentioned, this works 100% on auto for all stages of Dark Fae with this team composition with these stats. You could very easily throw in some of the substitutable champions with the same stats and you'll still be able to get through it. While we wait for this fight to finish, I will just call out that, of course, channel memberships are live. So if you appreciate the content, if you've been a viewer for some time, go ahead, hit that join button down below, and you're going to be able to support the channel a little bit more than the average viewer. And, of course, if you're new around here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I'm doing a lot of Raid Shadow Legends content, a little bit of Watcher Realms, some game reviews sprinkled in here, maybe some Wuthering Waves. Still working on that one. And yeah, I try to make informative content that I think the community will find useful. And lastly, Discord is linked down in the description as well. So if you want to get in there, share your builds, brag about your polls, ask questions of the community, all those sorts of things, go ahead and hop in. That being said, we should be just about done on the Dark Fae here right away. Just waiting for a little bit of damage to come in to finish her off here. And we're at about a 2.5 minute run, which is certainly not terrible. You definitely could get this faster with some extra meta champions in here, right? We do get one whole legendary sphere here, which is pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at the presets here, what's important about them. I will actually just go ahead and show you the builds first as well so you can get a good idea. So this is going to be the build on Eostrid. She is incredibly fast. You can make her slower. Essentially what you need is you need her to go faster than the boss, right? And that's about it. So faster than the boss. Keep in mind that when the Dark Fae spawns your champions, she's going to spawn exact clones of them. So one massive call out for this is make sure that the champions that you're spawning in don't have polymorph on them, or they don't have, the ability to freeze. So, for example, don't use Tormin in this comp, because that RNG can absolutely screw over your team. For a while, I was actually trying to use Armands inside this team composition, which didn't work too well, because I have him 4-star awakened with polymorph. So every so often, he'd polymorph my team, and then that would completely mess up the run, right? So I used to struggle a lot with Dark Fae, actually, just because I didn't really have the team composition to do it very consistently, but we've gotten over that, obviously, and it's to the point where now I'm making guides to help other people get better at it. This is going to be the build on Newt. Newt is a pretty fast little bugger as well, and he is inside the reflex set, so he's going to be able to get some cooldown decreases on his A3 and just output damage more. This is going to be the build on Yakarl. He is built for a little bit of damage. I didn't put crazy damage gear on him, though. Obviously, if you had a higher awakening on him, he's going to be even stronger. But he is a very competent champion for this particular role, so he is a fantastic candidate. Skimfos, this is how he's looking. Essentially, for the team order, you just need to make sure that, you have all the stats that you need. So, for example, for Allure on her A1, it does have to be critical for her to decrease the turn meter, but she has 97% crit rate, 100% crit damage, so very low crit damage there, obviously. So just go ahead, build it to the best of the capabilities that you can do on your account, and just make sure that your champion replacing Eostrid is the fastest, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at that AI preset now. Essentially, Newt, he has his A3 turned off on both round 1 and round 2. Then he has his A2 turned off on round 3, because we really just want him to be enemy max HP nuking or turn meter controlling, and we don't really want him doing anything else. Eostrid is disabled on both of the waves up front, and the reason for that is my team can clear the waves very quickly. So a lot of times, if she's allowed to use her skills, by the time we get to wave 3, she's actually going to be on cooldown on them, which can mess up your run as well. So I do recommend doing it like this. The waves are super easy, right? You're not going to struggle to get through them. And in wave 3, she's set up like so. Allure, as you may imagine, she's kind of doing whatever she wants for round 1, round 2, and in round 3, she has everything disabled except her A1. Skimfos does what he wants, and then we just have a priority on the Clutch of Woe. If you're really trying to min-max this, you'd probably want to put the Clutch of Woe as, like, not being used on round 2, something like that, right? Yakarl, he's doing what he wants. He doesn't use Glaciate on round 2, and then on round 3, he opens with Glaciate and then doesn't use it again. So we're really just looking for him to use Blizzard Rider more than Glaciate, and I will actually set that as a priority 1 just to make sure he is using it. Essentially, this is going to place a decreased speed as well as stealing 100% of their turn meter, which is incredibly strong. So let's go ahead and let's talk about potential substitutions for this team. So obviously, if you don't have a Newt, the major candidate that comes to mind is going to be somebody like a Marius, somebody that can just like put out massive amounts of enemy max HP damage. If you don't have a Marius, you could also look at options like Royal Guard would be very good for this. Husk would be very good for this. Any sort of a champion that can do enemy max HP but bring a little bit more. So Royal Guard is a fantastic option because he brings turn meter depletion, decreased defense, as well as the enemy max HP nuke. Husk is very good as well. He brings that AoE enemy max HP nuke, same as Royal Guard. You could even throw a Cold Heart in here with her Heart Seeker, and she's going to do a very similar job to what the Newt does. If you need a substitution for Eostrid, one of the best options in the entire game is going to be Deacon Armstrong, the epic turn meter control champion from Sacred Orders, or Sacred Order. He has a turn meter depletion as well as a turn meter fill into an extra turn, which includes a decreased defense. So he's going to be a very, very strong candidate for this. Anybody that can just do that turn meter boost roll, preferably somebody that also has turn meter reduction. So Lysandra is awesome for that role. You could easily throw in somebody like an Arbiter as well. Will do it very, very decently. Allure, if you don't have an Allure, it's going to be tough to replace her exact role, but you could bring another Skimfos if you happen to have him. You could throw in another Cold Heart with her Heart Seeker. Any sort of turn meter reduction champion is going to work very, very well for this. If you're kind of more of like a Kraken player, you can just throw in another Newt as well, obviously. Yakarl, Substitutions aren't really needed, I don't think, just because he is a free champion that everybody can get from the clan shop. If you haven't got him yet, definitely make sure that you are farming for him. He's going to help a lot with this. And it's going to be very, very hard to get some sort of a substitution for him if you don't have him. So one of the best ways to go would be like somebody else that can do an AoE freeze, essentially. So you're looking at like a ninja. You're looking at, you know, any sort of an option like that, essentially. And bonus points if they can do extra damage as well. And then finally, Skimfos. He's coming in for the turn meter steal. Same kind of deal as the other turn meter reduction champions we've talked about. Throw in a Newt. Throw in another, throw in a Skimfos if you don't have a Skimfos. Throw in, you know, like a Deacon Armstrong. Throw in Royal Guards. Cold Hearts are huge for this. Any sort of turn meter reduction champion is going to make your life so much easier. Just do yourself a favor and make sure that you're not bringing in really tanky champions as well. So, for example, you know, don't use a Harima on your team, because then she's going to get like the clone spawn, and then everybody's going to be super tanky. You may not actually end up killing them. So just make sure to make your life a little bit easier, and don't do that. That's kind of a classic blunder I see from a lot of players that are trying to get started with the Dark Fae as well. So that being said, I hope this guide was helpful. It was a nice, quick, short, and to the point discussion about how to farm the most valuable boss inside the Doom Tower. As always, though, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.